website. I mean, who really thinks that much about their contact form on your website? But your contact form is a touch point. A touch point is every moment that a customer comes face to face with in your business, and you can really get granular as you begin to identify different touch points. For example, when people land on your website for the first time, clearly that's a touch point, right? But then when they go to your first landing page, another touch point. When they click to go to your contact form, it's a new touch point. And each touch point is an opportunity for you to make an impression on your customer. So, or here was the question I asked. I said, which statement best reflects the purpose of your contact form on your website? And the options to click were to connect with the customer and make the sale over the phone. Number two is to connect with the customer and make the sale over email. Or number three is to obtain all of their enrollment info and make the sale on the website. Number four is I don't have a form. I request that prospects call or email. Okay, so these are the four, different selections. And so I was pleased to see that number one received the most votes. Number one is to connect with the customer and make the sale over the phone. That received 21 votes. Why is that important? Well, for one, is up until this point, there's been no human interaction. The customers, they're forming impressions maybe from perhaps a referral, perhaps a friend said, oh, this music studio is great. Perhaps they have seen your social media and it made them feel a certain way, a positive way, of course. They go to your website. Wow, website looks really good. It's, it really seems to be consistent with the message on social media. I'm now going to fill out this form, and there's still been no personal connection. Once you get on the phone with them, all of a sudden your brand comes to life and has much more personality than it has before. There's a human voice. And then I want to talk about number two. Number two, which was also the second most popular one, it was to connect with the customer and make the sale over email. That received 13 votes. So the challenge with that, not that that's terrible, but the challenge with that is, okay, so now an email exchange is beginning. And it's a little bit more personal because you're now talking directly to the customer, but you have yet to make that real personal connection. And typically what I find is when you're onboarding a new customer, that initial phone call might very well be the most in-depth, most personal phone call that you're going to have with that customer. Because typically in that first phone call, you're going to be asking them about their child. You're going to be hearing, or learning their story more, and the customer is really going to be able to open up with you. Pretty much after that, most of your phone calls are either going to be logistical calls, scheduling and payments and all that stuff, or potentially a complaint. And sure, some customers you're really going to bond with and connect with, and you're going to have maybe some more personal phone calls and connections. But really, that first phone call is a great opportunity to make a really strong impression. You've been making these impressions all along, the customer journey so far. But if you get in that, someone fills out that contact form and you call them, now you're making that strong impression. If you reply with email, that's fine. You certainly can convey personality, but you have yet to fulfill the obligation, but you've yet to achieve making that much more personal connection. Now, maybe you're going to set time aside when they come in to talk to them, but you don't want to be distracted. You want to be focused totally on them. I think one of the greatest compliments your customers could ever give you is for them to say, wow, I know the music studio is really big. They probably have like 300 students, but they make me feel like I matter. They make me feel like I'm the only customer in the studio. And I mean, what a great, compliment to hear. By having systems in place and developing a set amount of emails or phone calls that you're going to make to each customer, throughout the course of the year can help nurture that relationship and make customers feel like you really matter. The last thing you want your customers to feel like is that they're just another number. They're just another $150 that you're collecting each month. You want to make that personal connection, and that connection begins at that onboarding process. So the number 3 on the list was to obtain all the enrollment info and make the sale on the website. That troubles me, or that concerns me, in that first of all, get into the mindset of a customer when they're landing on your website. They're, some of them are like, oh yeah, I'm going to this website and I'm ready to buy. Some of them are like, oh, I'm just kind of checking this out. I want to get a feel for this. And if you hit them with a long enrollment form, that's a problem. They're not in that mindset of, oh, I'm going to set aside now 5 minutes to fill out this form. When you go to the doctor's office for the first time and they hand you the clipboard, you're a little annoyed by it, but it's a part of the deal. I encourage you to keep that enrollment form hidden on your website. Focus on connection, focus on getting a dialogue going with that prospective student. Once they're scheduled, then the deal is made, and then email them that link. And something I've talked about on here before, and I just really want to drive home this point, is the importance of getting that contact form really simple and lean. Just getting the few basic facts you need to start a conversation. All you need is what's the parent's name, what's the email, and what's the phone number. That's all you need to begin a dialogue, to begin a conversation, to begin a relationship. Get on the phone with them and then ask them, hey, what's your kid's name and how old they are? You can, through the course of a conversation, start filling in the blanks. You don't need to know their address. You don't need to know all this other stuff right away. Think of that first phone call with the customer as you're going out on a date with them. You don't want all the details of their life. You just want to see, or you want to give them a feel for what you're like and what your studio's like. And you also want to get a feel for what they're like. They might not be a great fit for your studio, and you'll be able to get a sense of that on that conversation. So if your objective is to get all that enrollment info and just kind of keep everything in the virtual domain, keep it all digital, I think you're really missing out on an opportunity to make a strong impression and to get the relationship off on the right foot. Okay, so number 4 on the list, and actually number 4 and number 3, they both received 2 votes. These were not popular choices. Number 4 on the list was, I don't have a form, I request that prospects call or email. Well, that to me is an indication of a lack of professionalism. And I hate to use such harsh language, but people expect that. A contact form is making it easier for the prospective student to contact you. Oh, click a button, put in my name, email, phone number, click done. Emailing, calling you, it's like, okay, email. Well, now you're not, when you're asking for them to email you, you're not giving them any framework as to what to say in that email. When it's a form and you're asking for a name, phone number, email, you've given them 3 questions that you want answers to, and they'll be thankful that that's all they have to do. Calling them, well, when they're in carpool line, or if they're at the grocery store, making that phone call might not really be that convenient. And you're also saying, hey, we're going to commit now, to a phone call. The contact form is a very non-intrusive way into getting them to reach out to you. Customers expect it, and if you don't have it on your form, it is likely to have a negative or make a negative impression on the customer. So those are my thoughts on how to best utilize contact forms on your website. Let's hop on over to the other side of the music as I sit down to speak with Nate Terepka.